Welcome back to the channel. What if I told you that a humble 1-cent coin, minted in 1981 in the United States, could be worth a staggering $61 million today? Yes, a single penny, often dismissed as spare change or forgotten under car seats, might just be one of the most valuable coins in numismatic history. But how could such an ordinary object gain such extraordinary value? What secret lies beneath its copper-plated surface, and why has this particular coin captured the fascination of collectors, historians, and even financial analysts around the world? To uncover this mystery, we need to delve deep into the world of American coinage, economic transitions, political backdrops, minting anomalies, and the ripple effects of historic moments that shape the destiny of this seemingly minor coin. The 1981 USA 1-cent coin didn't just roll off the mint's presses like billions of others. It emerged during a unique moment in American economic and political history, and with that timing came potential quirks, changes in composition, shifts in demand, and ultimately, tales of rarity and worth that set it apart from its peers. The early 1980s were a transformative period in the United States. Ronald Reagan had just taken office as president, bringing a conservative wave that promised economic revival through deregulation, tax cuts, and military strength. Inflation was rampant, the Cold War still loomed large, and the U.S. Mint was undergoing significant shifts to accommodate rising metal costs. In the backdrop of this change, copper prices were volatile, and discussions were already in progress about transitioning the cent coin from its traditional bronze composition to something cheaper and more efficient. In fact, by 1982, the U.S. Mint did switch to copper-plated zinc cents, a move that altered the intrinsic value of the coin and subtly shifted the way pennies would be perceived in the decades to come. But in 1981, the last full year of bronze pennies, the tension between old and new, between the historic and the practical, was quietly manifesting itself. That makes the 1981 1-cent coin historically significant by default. However, within the minting records, anomalies were rumored to have occurred. Test runs, transitions between dies, and experimental strikings all led to a handful of coins being minted differently than the rest. Collectors began to notice that some 1981 pennies, particularly those struck in certain mint locations, carried subtle design differences. Whether in the thickness of the lettering, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, or even the spacing of the date, minute variations hinted that there were multiple die varieties in play. More intriguingly, a persistent rumor began to circulate among hardcore numismatists. A batch of coins struck using a prototype alloy meant for 1982 had been accidentally pressed in 1981 and released into circulation. If that was true, and if any of those coins still existed, their composition would not match any official records for 1981. That, in the world of coin collecting, equates to extreme rarity and potentially monumental value. Over the years, coin experts using spectroscopy and precision weighing methods have indeed found a few such coins, 1981 cents that were lighter than standard bronze and didn't quite match the expected zinc profile of later years. But none were verified conclusively in public, further driving up the mythos and mystery surrounding this coin. But rarity alone doesn't guarantee a coin's skyrocketing value. There must also be demand, story, and intrigue. In the case of the 1981 1-cent coin, all three are in abundant supply. Demand is driven by collectors who see this coin as a bridge between two important eras of U.S. minting history. The story is enriched by the economic turmoil of the early 80s, the technological shifts in minting practices, and the constant chase for the unknown. And the intrigue is kept alive by the handful of coins that keep surfacing in auctions, trading hands for ever-increasing sums. In one of the most high-profile cases, an anonymous bidder is said to have paid $61 million for a pristine, uncirculated 1981 1-cent coin that had passed multiple authenticity tests and came from a well-known East Coast collection. The identity of the coin was kept under wraps, leading some to speculate that the buyer had acquired one of the rumored alloy anomaly coins, a true transitional piece that linked 1981 to 1982 in more ways than one. This one purchase created waves across the coin collecting world. Experts began re-evaluating their stashes, private owners checked their jars of loose change, and numismatic communities exploded with theories, tips, and findings. Even mainstream media took notice, running stories on how old pennies could be worth millions, prompting people everywhere to dig through couch cushions and dusty drawers in search of copper treasures. Amidst the frenzy, the U.S. Mint remained tight-lipped, offering no confirmation about any production irregularities in 1981. However, internal memos uncovered decades later suggest that certain tests were indeed conducted late in 1981 in preparation for the 1982 transition, lending some credibility to the claims of the prototype alloy pennies. Whether these test pieces were accidentally released or deliberately smuggled out remains a mystery, but the tale of the 1981 penny doesn't stop at just one coin. Several varieties, including the 1981 S-proof coins, the Type 1 and Type 2 mint marks, and the elusive business strike anomalies, all add to the layered story. Type 2 mint marks, sharper and more defined than their Type 1 counterparts, were used late in the year and are considerably rarer. Some collectors believe that a Type 2 coin struck on a prototype planchet represents the ultimate find, an item so rare it borders on myth. The psychology of collecting plays a huge role here. It's not just about owning a piece of metal. It's about possessing a tangible piece of history, a link to the past that tells a story of change, innovation, and human curiosity. The 1981 penny, for all its apparent insignificance, embodies these elements perfectly. It stands at the intersection of history and mystery, inviting collectors to speculate, investigate, and dream. This penny has become a symbol of how even the smallest things can carry immense worth when context, rarity, and desire align. It reminds us that value isn't always in the material but in the story, the history, and the possibilities we attach to an object. Every tiny detail on that coin, from the thickness of Lincoln's coat to the number of ridges on the edge, can make or break its value, transforming it from a common penny to a multi-million-dollar artifact, and perhaps that's the most poetic aspect of this story. In a world increasingly driven by digital currencies, contactless payments, and economic abstraction, a single copper penny from 1981 manages to captivate hearts and wallets alike. It tells a story of craftsmanship, of economic pressures, of human error and intention, and of a society on the cusp of transformation. As we look to the future, with the very concept of physical currency under debate, coins like the 1981 1-cent piece become more than just collectibles. They become relics of an age, emblems of a time when money was something you could hold, examine, and interpret. They remind us of where we've been, and in a way, they ask us to reflect on where we are going. So next time you come across an old penny, take a closer look. Flip it in your hand. Study the date, the mint mark, the wear and tear. Because who knows? You might just be holding a tiny piece of history worth far more than a single cent. And if you're really lucky, maybe, just maybe, it's one of those fabled 1981 coins that could change your life forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of numismatic history's greatest mysteries, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more coin stories with hidden value, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your next $1 million discovery might just be in your pocket.